I'm started. I just threw out there when I have one outside. Morning. Just a reminder that the tables with chairs at them are set up for some members. So we are eligible to vote today. We're not expecting those people sitting in the gallery singing. I appreciate that.
Sure. Oh, I was just going to run.
Okay, here we are. Yes, people are going to be trickling in. I know there was some delay getting our beverages out this morning, so yes, right away. Is there coffee now or is it already out? So it is out there. Yes, there were, yeah, on that note, that was a really nice turnout last night to have me over here, so thank you everybody for coming out. Yeah. Hope everybody's remembering. Nice. All right, so I am going to go ahead and take this opportunity to call this meeting to order. Again, welcome SLEC members, guests, staff, county chairs, candidates, future and past. All right. All right, so whenever you're ready, we'll do the roll call. Here.
Here.
Eric Hansel. Rudy Wright. Rudy Wright. Agnes Spencer. I'm here. Michelle Whittington. Here. Jesse Howard. Here. Scott Ford.
Not done yet.
Jeff Miller. Scott Talley.
Here.
Aaron Ringman. Drew Pierce.
Aye.
Jody Cole.
She's at the front desk.
Paul Thompson.
Here.
David Polsky.
Present.
Jacob Weston.
Here.
Mark Gregg.
Here.
Jocelyn Casey. Here. Trey Holcomb. Amanda Gibbs. Mike Lee. Elizabeth Miller.
Liz.
Sorry, here.
Liz here.
Somebody, sorry, here.
Hannah Kennedy. Here. Steve Haskett.
Here.
Here. Ted Brown.
Here.
Carol Hunsaker. Here. Kevin Hale.
Here.
David Bradley.
Here.
David Long. David Long. Patrick Mitchell.
Here.
Heidi Spodak. Here. Paul Dar. Nathan Garza. Here. Ellen Schmidt.
Here.
Lexi Green.
Here.
Renee Perez.
Here.
Joe Roberts.
Here.
Rudy Hernandez.
Here.
Joe Burns.
Here.
Aaron Hollett.
Here.
Stephanie Berlin. Here. Carter Fanning.
Here.
Austin Hugan.
Here.
Steve Brashear. Here. Greg Lozano.
Present.
Bernard Johnson.
Here.
David Marino. David Marino. Noah Turvey.
Here.
John Wilford.
Here.
Colby Micey.
Here.
Jack Westbrook.
Here.
All right, did anybody just walk in and not hear their name called? In a few minutes while she figures out. Just in case we have any people who are- Seems really loud. All right. We love it. Jack's in the front now. All right, listen up, folks. Okay, so the body is now 51, 26 for quorum, we have 46 present. Okay, so then, majority, 24. Two-thirds.
Yeah.
Oh, because we're going by the whole number. So 51. Right, I was going by 46. All right. This one.
We do the main offices of those.
Eric Van Siegel, Senate 31, and Nathan Marino at Senate 29.
Anything else regarding things like? All right, so moving on to the next item. As always, we have an opportunity for public comment both before the meeting, or at the beginning of the meeting, and at the end of the meeting. So if anybody who is in our gallery, not SLEC members, wishes to make any announcements or any comments or express anything this morning, now is the time. You're welcome. Yeah. Here we go, rolling right along. The next item is the adoption of the agenda, which was sent out to you all on the forum. The only change that is made since the last time you saw it is that we now have a development director. So Jenny will be presenting that report instead of Amy. So I changed that name last night. The other thing that we need to do here is, as you noted, our treasurer, Kate, is not here. She's not going to be in attendance, therefore her report is online. If you have any questions or concerns about it, I encourage you to ask them in the forum. That way she can see them from where she is right now. If you don't know, she's traveling right now for family stuff, getting some precious time for the family. We'll just skip right over that portion. All right. You're moving to adopt the agenda as presented with writing. All right. Thank you. All right, the next item is to approve their previous meeting minutes.
The minutes have been in this folder and available to select since like 30 days after the last meeting. Donald has brought up a soccer discrepancy. I basically in this one word. That in the original draft of the minutes, it was all the amended budget. Was changed from
We are already into officer report. As you saw, I submitted the typical outline that I normally do. It gives me an opportunity to kind of add letters and talk through things to you or reviewing something you already read. So, the things that I've been doing, I'm sure there are things that I've omitted here. I know Andrew and I talk every single day, multiple things. So I'm sure there are things that I've omitted here. With regard to personnel organization, obviously we're continuing to add staff and county chairs. So, you know, handling those interviews and finalizing those appointments, working with the development department on contracts for venues and things like that, as well as our staffing agreements with those who are now working on a paid basis for us. At the pleasure, thank you to Carter Manning and Jennifer. Setting up a phone call with us and myself and with Jeff Charles and Donnie Anthony. That was really nice. And Jeff actually took some time to come out yesterday and spend a little time with us here. He came out early before the happy hour, unfortunately. That was really nice of him to come out. He does a Carter if you want at some point to like you know share exactly what they're about. That's fine. But anyway, Jennifer and Carter and I believe Billy. Maybe not Carter and then Kyle Ward also participated in a Twitter space, a Twitter space with Jeff. I don't remember if Tony was on it or not, but regarding school choice, I could not attend that particular evening. Thanks to those folks for representing us so well in that event, and hopefully we get opportunities to do more of those. County events I've been invited to two specifically recently that I've not been able to attend. One I had to miss because I was out of town last week, and the other I will miss because I'll be out of town next week. But feel free if you want me to come to. I'm happy to attend any county events with invitation if you know if there's a reason. I was asked to speak at a couple, and I'm just kind of for these most recent ones been able to get there, but open to that if there's a room. Obviously, I continue to collaborate with communications. I know Kyle is learning quickly that this has to be a very close relationship. Chair and executive director and the communications department have to work really closely together. So spending a great deal of time on that, which actually is something that I enjoy. We put out quite a few press releases. I wrote one the day that I signed the agreement with the affiliate partnership agreement with the Texas Coalition to abolish the death penalty. I put together a press release that morning and they were able to get it out within 48 hours. It would have been within 24 hours, but we missed sort of the media cycle, so we put it off the next day. But that's going really well. And I appreciate all their efforts on that. I know that team is working all day long to appreciate those efforts. I have gotten some inquiries from TEC. I don't know how many of you had to deal with your candidate, you've had to deal with TEC. And I've said this before, thanks to John and Anastasia, historically, TEC has been very, very kind to us and have extended a great deal of courtesy to us. And every time I speak to them, they always say, Republicans and Democrats owe us a ton of money in fees, and none of them care about doing any of this right. And they continue to get away with it, and they're always very appreciative of how we actually make efforts. So I want to appreciate candidates for doing that right, but I have fielded a couple inquiries from TEC when there is someone who's not responsive or they're not doing their reports. I will get a call from a particular rep at TEC who does extend that courtesy. It is not my job to manage candidates and their filing at all. But I'm willing to take a couple steps to try to facilitate that when I can to help you avoid penalties and help get those things taken care of. So just wanted you to know that that's an option, and if you're ever struggling with any of that, just feel free to reach out to me because I think have a good relationship Right. Actually, one of the biggest problems we had this past cycle was there was someone who withdrew. A candidate that I had never heard of, most of the people in my circle had never heard of, somehow got the nomination in whatever county he was in, and withdrew, but didn't do it properly. And so TEC was still holding them accountable for reporting. And their claim was that they had emailed either the county or they had emailed even the state. They'll just say, I know the state party, or some of them will even email national, which does not necessarily trickle down. But you know, that kind of stuff, depending on what kind of email address they're using, that goes to spam. And so there was a gentleman who repeatedly for a few weeks, we had a hard time trying to get sorted out. And he was really mad at us because we didn't do something bad. It's not our job. So just a reminder, if you are going to withdraw, or if you know a candidate who needs to withdraw, it needs to be in writing directly to the chair of LP Texas. And obviously, you know, our county would be nice too. Otherwise, there's nothing that I can do to intervene on, you know, getting shielded from those reports. Yes, yeah, the final report. All right, another thing I've been doing is trying to kind of keep up with what other third parties are doing. You may know that what was the SAM party in Texas, you probably didn't hear about them when they were the SAM party. They have become the Forward Party in Texas, and they're a legitimate political party. They do not have ballot access, obviously. I have some doubts as to whether or not they'll be able to get it, but they are a legitimate political party, and I've been kind of trying to keep tabs on what's happening with them, and in some ways they are already ahead of us on some things. I'm going to hold questions until the end, please. So just kind of, you know, wanting to keep track of all of that. I encourage the rest of you to do the same. Greens seem to be covering a lot right now, you know, but what other third parties are doing is relevant to us, and so I encourage you to also be keeping up with that. Thank you to Kevin and Andrew and David Roberson, who is not here, also in our political action department. We spent a whole Saturday a few weeks ago before the session, or right at the beginning of the session, to kind of lay out a plan for this legislative session. So I want to give thanks to them for giving up a Saturday to do that. And then, of course, I've been continuing to work. That's another group that I kind of deal with on a daily basis. Not too Kevin, you'll probably say
Never.
But there's a lot of stuff going on. A flurry of activity in our political action department, specifically related to legislative action, the legislative action team. So we added at least a dozen more, you know, on-site days at the Capitol, which I'm really excited about. I will try to attend every one of them if possible. One of the things that I'm going to just go ahead and put out a call for, and I don't want it to get super complicated, but one of the, you know, we've got Kevin who's going to be on site for the remainder of the session. And for the first, that's a tremendous help for all of us. And for the first day at the Capitol that we did together, I wound up printing all of the paperwork and all the documents for people who are going to be coming, because Kevin didn't have access to them. I can continue to do that, but if I'm not going to be going to that particular event, that's going to be difficult. So I'm just saying this kind of really to Andrew and Kevin, but for everybody's benefit, in case somebody has an idea or can offer some support, especially if you're local. Just some ideas on how we can make sure we get those things taken care of each time. We do have to reprint them for each session because they're dated. Different bills are what we're focusing on that day, and otherwise we can just kind of big stock on and hand them out as needed. But just want to put that out there in case somebody has some good suggestions. Can't wait for them. Okay, just hold it for me, please. Yes, as I mentioned, the TCA group, we did get that coalition sorted out, and they are, ironically or coincidentally, having their conference today. Also here in Austin, and you may have noted that the pub crawl that Jody has suggested for us starts at the Omni, which is where they're having their happy hour this evening. So we can't guarantee how many of them are actually sticking around, but coincidentally, Charles, as he was leaving yesterday, said that's where he was going to be today. So we may run into him again this evening. So that's kind of cool that we're already starting to see other people we're doing the same things and interested in the same things that we aren't necessarily creating. So let's keep our eyes and ears open for those opportunities. And Renee is always looking for those. Yeah, they're not too many are covered. So development, donor cultivation, always looking for and talking to people about my time up. Continuing to do stuff with donors and thank you calls and obviously injections. Great, thank you. One of my priorities has been calling lifetime members. That's a big deal to me. Calling them and getting to know them and trying to understand what it is that you need them to do. So obviously, I encourage you to continue to bring in lifetime members to the Libertarian Party of Texas. Jenny worked on her first fundraising appeal letter this week. I had the pleasure of being able to see that before you get to. So that should be coming out soon, and we'll be meeting tomorrow to decide who all that's going to go to. So some of you may be getting it, hopefully all of you are getting it. Feel free to share it. There will be an email version as well that you can forward to anyone who you think might be interested. Other things I've done since our last meeting, we got the insurance policy renewed, liability insurance. Spent a lot of time conferring with our legal teams, and we submitted a filing last week. Within this last week, I'll talk about that when we get to the legal stuff. And then, of course, always going to take the opportunity to plug the Association of Libertarian Educators. I am on. We now have a board. I am on that board. I am not chair of it. Yes, thank you. But I put out some flyers out there. One of the people that were brought on as a county chair this week, B County was an educator, and we had a good conversation about libertarian educators. And so that was an opportunity for me to develop that relationship, and hopefully any of you who are educators or related to them or know them, something that we can continue to build out. It is currently part of the Libertarian Party, the National Party. That's where it was sort of created. We don't know if it's eventually going to break off or not, but it does have its own fund right now, not necessarily its own budget, but it is an organization that we would definitely like to continue to expand and potentially hold another event, which would be our second one, early fall, late summer, if possible. So the flyers are out there. I've got more in my bag if anybody's interested. And that's it for me.
So going back to your kind of request for
Printing stuff.
printing stuff, yeah. I know there are a lot of good options around the Capitol for paid printing, but outside of nicer things you might need paid printing for, I know once upon a time the party had a printer that we used for a lot of stuff. Would we possibly just send that with him to whoever is staying?
That is possible if he wants to lug it back and forth every time. I have it, not on me. I can get it to you as soon as possible. Yes, hang on, Carol had something earlier. I don't want to forget.
I thought the forward party in Texas, most of the members I thought were well established financially, so would we be buying or ballot after?
So the forward party is made up of, the forward party is made up of, just to give you a little history on it, made up of 3 different organizations that already existed, and there were 2 from what you would consider the right that were former recovered Republicans, and a group of more progressive, formerly Democrats. They all came together and to coalesce around this new idea of a different party. And they are, because of the networks that they work in and because of the individuals, these are former governors, these are former Congress people, yes, they have a totally different experience and history than our members typically do. So yes, they are very well funded, but still, it's $1 million to get ballot access. So
violations versus that.
Perhaps, definitely not. We don't want to do that again. This one.
That's something that's not, like, people on the journal, but for the Senate, you know, actually, on ballot access, and you know, other institutions. Well, that's not very easy. I mean, you can go to Congress, outside, whatever, you can go with most of the
We'll see. One of the things that the forward members of the forward party, the leadership of the forward party that I had a chance to speak to, one of the things that I encourage them to do is come get on board and be supportive of our legal activity, our legal efforts, because that could be a huge benefit to them. And once again, we're going to wind up carrying other third parties because we are the ones actually fighting these ballot access laws. So not as far as I know, none of them have taken us up on that offer to give us money for it, but we'll see. Maybe it becomes very urgent.
First of all, I submit to acknowledge all the great work you and the staff are doing. I know it's like a great thing going on. Part of it, you want but getting big bus donors to donate to the park. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, that is something that I work on. As you know, I was able to secure $10,000 donation to our legal fund, or it was like 8 years ago. Yeah,
That's something.
Yeah. So yes, there are relationships that I have that I continue to cultivate, but it is very difficult to do that when donors don't just want to give. A lot of times they don't just want to give to overhead or general fund. They want very specific things that they can target. Which is why now that we have so many staff members and so many projects going on, they're creating opportunities to be able to sell things to these donors. Very specific things that excite them. And now that we have the budget, and I actually have a meeting scheduled tomorrow to sit down and go over, work together on a plan to do this moving forward as a team and from that department, and then bring in more staff to help with it.
So you think the things that the event that you're about to do, do you have staff members that are available to pass it up to the people, or I think you kind of did that maybe some of us not being helping in that regard.
Yeah, well, when I mentioned it earlier, I was specifically saying I got personal invitations as the chair to come speak at things. But yeah, if people are just looking for representatives from the Libertarian Party of Texas, yes, we definitely have a lineup that we've got a bench that we can use for that. I mentioned one, where a couple people are to do that for us, and an online event. So those are definitely things we can do. And typically it works out when someone wants a representative from the Libertarian Party of Texas. It would be myself or the executive director. If it's an event where there's potentially fundraising opportunity for us, it would be the development director. So it just depends on what exactly they're looking for, what aspect of our organization are they wanting to hear about, and then we can kind of tag different people to go. If they want somebody who's really engaged with our legislative efforts, then we might send Kevin. So it just depends. But yes, that is definitely an option.
Maybe about that.
Okay. Support.
Just kind of tagging on that, might be a cool idea for somebody else to do this, but create a speaker board that's available on the thing of different members who are experts in different areas. That if you have an event, hey, we need somebody to talk about school choice, and talk about somebody with vaccination, freedom, whatever.
Right.
Have a speaker board of different members who could speak to different topics.
Yes. Andrew and I talked about that communications department. I know we're kind of always thinking along those lines of who in our midst is really skilled at certain things. We're really good at conveying certain messages on certain topics. So yes, we're working on that. That is a good idea, and it is something we're mindful of, whether or not it's already in an actual list. I can't say specifically, but we're working on that. Thank you. Anyone else? All right, moving on. Thank you for your time. Next is. What here?
Good morning. Been a pretty slow quarter of projects and events. So it's great. Getting to work with all the other departments and officers as needed. The main focus has been the city CRM. Usually we'll go into more detail in this report. But there's been some staffing changes at national affecting our support level of the city CRM. So we're looking into future support plans. But the system still works, and we're actually getting ready to start onboarding the county chairs into the system. So once you get in, the county chairs will get in, you'll be able to go in and set your own events in the calendar, look up your own constituents, look up your county. Hopefully it helps raise funds for your county and for the county party. Interviewed 4 county chairs, they've all been approved and onboarded, and we've interviewed one staff position and onboarded Carter Cole as an IT associate to help with the future development of cities here and with IT projects. So yeah, that's about it. Any questions? Thanks for your time.
Did anybody have any questions about our report?
I think this football's been started. Part 2. All right, so where are we? We are done at this point since we don't have any person. Officer reports. As we get into the staff reports, I'm going to ask that you give the directors the opportunity to present their reports in full before we go with Q&A. If we have time for that. So please just make notes of your questions. You don't get them down. You can follow up with them later. Obviously, the forum is always a place the reports are in the forum. You can see questions and reports there as well. All right, so first we have Emily.
Okay, so good morning. My report is more kind of narrative, contextual. Kind of did that last time. I think all of the black and part of a lot of that. Try to just kind of tell a story here. Excuse me. Question. Thank you. I will kind of read, kind of improvise, but if you, I'm sorry it came out late this week, what's going on. But since the last meeting, we've added 10 staff members, have a total of 37 staff working now for LB Texas. If you add the 8 that we added since July, when I became full-time executive director, that we basically doubled our staff in 8 months. So that's cool. That's a good thing. We also moved around, talked a lot about anything on the development director. That's even a little cool stuff.
At this point, we're stable. We have a couple of positions open that the right person stepped up. And in the meantime, got stuff to do, and we'll absorb and integrate the quality and quantity. Like now, it's time to really kind of get our internal operations working together, so that the team starts to build that synergy. A lot of what's going on now, legislative section, we'll talk more about that in a minute. I did publish a revised organization chart of the table of organizations, so policy manual, you look at that on the forum. It's also got the support you find that anyone on the forum. And I already mentioned that, like, this is the first time since I got involved in state security that we've had, that I remember, that directors in every position. Like, we actually have a fully staffed, fully functioning team. And I'm really happy about that. I wonder if everybody who's working on staff right now would just stand up for a second. Yeah, how many staff members? Woo! Yeah. Very happy with what you're doing there. That's sort of what I'm doing. Some water, please. Going back, that's kind of where we are right now, turning the corner. Going back a little bit, before, it was more about raising money, trying to build a bank account. Back a few years ago, the numbers in the report, I'm not going to say that on the live stream or whatever, but let's just say back a few years ago, we were not doing well financially. We had, but things have looked up in the last couple of years. We had the town membership rollout and a successful fundraising community gala and level up campaigns. I just June's first, like, getting on the development track, that's what I would say. And so it resulted in that at the end of this past year, we have about 5 times as much money in the bank as we did a few years ago. So that's so we built a war chest, and then since we did that, we've had the opportunity to spend some of that, which involves and I should not fail to mention that on top of the other cool stuff that's going on with fundraising, the mighty Joe Burns last summer was responsible, plus his butt, brought in a lot of money for the league fund. Fighting off yet another existential threat from our friends in Austin. With some money in the bank, we've been able to staff up. We have 4 paid contractors right now that are commissioned or paid that are working for the party. We have been able to tool up with some software. We have L2 data vendor. We have press release. We'll have some more stuff to talk about. We're slogging our way through this CRM migration. That's been a pain. Had a good conversation with Laney. Houston, okay. That's actually the national organization about their city may or may not be vetted. In the meantime, we are keeping our options open. Carter and I have been involved in this. We are exploring various ways in which national could continue to provide CRM services for us. We're also looking at some different ways we might jump out on and go back to that. Have our own system, whether that's city, probably city, or something else. But one way or the other, it's like National's got to do what's right for National, Texas got to do what's right for Texas, right? So we'll figure it out. We're going to solve the problem. And then, not today's problem, but just a heads up, looking down the road, headlights on bright. Probably between now and May, it'll be about city and just nailing that down. So please God, get on with it, right?
Yes.
And then in the May to August bracket, and as we kind of, whatever kind of intermission we're going to get over the summer before we start really building up the election campaigns and the internal of the conventions. But coming in for election campaigns, I hope to be able to present in August and not in May pitch for e-canvasser, which L2 is built-in information. E-canvasser, which is the mobile pocket facilitating field work for your election campaigns. And it allows us to capture data. Big strategic initiative for us right now in the legislative action drive is to capture data, because one of the things we're finding is that as a political party, we're weak because we don't know. We don't know how many dollars it takes to do this or how many volunteer hours it takes to do that. And so some people know bits, but we're trying to get a more articulate, a more accurate picture of that. And so that's part of what city's supposed to be doing for us. What else is supposed to do for us is to help us paint that intelligent picture of the battlefield that we're trying to fight on, right? So capturing that data, finding out more about the people that are out there, that's what that's going to be about. That's coming soon. Kate mentioned this in her report. We'll probably talk about more she's here. I just want to mention something that she alluded to in her report. And that is, yes, our membership information. So it kind of plateaued in 2022. We had a bunch of growth, and that was great. And there are a couple of reasons for that. One of which is it's just seasonal. We just came out of election season. It's the holidays and then the doldrums, and things will ramp back up this year, kind of a natural process. And the other thing is Jenny's been, after spending a lot of time on social media and hanging it around and trying to drive membership, she's had several months here of a combination of trying to sort out the donor appreciation program and the CRM migration. But that now we have brought Judy Wayman into the development department. Thank you, Judy. Can you raise your hand up there? She's assisting Jenny in taking up some of this, the administrative stuff of it, so she'll be back on social media, banging the drums for open Texas. Of course, she'll talk about that. The other thing is the idea that I was going to be acting development director while I was executive director just kind of went out the window about 60 days in, and that I just haven't had time to do that while trying to also, and that became more of an issue once I started taking money for what I do. And it's like I got to do the job I'm paid to do, not the job my part-time job. So that's where we've been. Looking forward to turning that around, and I think we're well poised to do that. We will, the first thing out of the gate, like already behind Jimmy Ketchup, is the Legislative Action Fund, the special project fund that drives, that pays for our work in the Capitol during the legislative session. So we kind of soft launched that a few weeks ago, but as mentioned before, Jenny's got a good letter coming out. We did this last term and raised over $11,000 against a goal of $7,000. That was cool. And then this year we have a goal of $15,000. And I hope all of us gathered here as leaders of the state party will be contributing to the Legislative Action Fund. We have the opportunity to do that. I'm sure you will say about that too. And then, as Whitney alluded to earlier, the chair mentioned, it is part of the development psychology, I guess. We have a lot of people just don't want to pay people lights on it. I don't know. It's a human nature thing, just a thing. But if we can point to things that we need and say, you could be a part of helping us do this, then we get checks. So basic. So we will be rolling out more special project initiatives to create those containers for people who are motivated, or people who have pet projects, or people who have very specific ideas about how we should be spending our money, to be able to help us do that. So that's coming. So that moving forward, the next thing we the money got taken care of, and we built out the budget, we built out the staff, and the big project right now is building out the party, right? Recruiting, engaging, training, we hope, and deploying volunteers. We need a volunteer army. We need a lot of people who are going to make small moves. A lot of people making small moves instead of a few people wearing a lot of hats and trying to do a lot of stuff. next 3 months, the most important thing we can be working on is the 88th legislative session. The, I would suggest that for us as state leaders, there is nothing else that you could be doing in the next 3 months. It is as important as figuring out how to be a voice in the ear of your senator and your representative. There's important stuff that has to, there's things we work on that are day to day, and just the things that need to happen to keep them moving forward. They're important, but they're not no man's life, liberty, or property or say, while the legislature is in session.
Did she on board or did
Right. So pay attention to what's going on with that. We're off to a great start with the session with our legislative coordinator, Kevin Hale, and coalition coordinator, Renee Perez. We have Kevin has put together a team of 20 Dories. 20, have we ever had 20? Yeah, congratulations. Please stand up or raise your hand or something like that. I want to see if you're here. Yeah. 2,000 bills read and categorized into yes, no, and probably not. Kind of triage, right? And that's amazing. That's, we've never had that kind of intel going into the committee season, being able to track these bills and maybe not get surprised as much, the bad surprises we get sometimes. We've already had one legislative action day. We had 9 attendees there. Raise your hand, I guess, if you were at the legislative action day.
Good job, y'all.
We have a full, first I thought Kevin had like seizures. We have like 16 to 12 legislative action days scheduled. Yeah, like we're gonna do this. We with Kevin, we have the ability to, instead of just doing, 2 terms ago, we had 1 legislative action day. Last time we had 2 legislative action days. This time we have a whole mess of legislative action days. So please take advantage of this opportunity. Kevin provides some training. We get to look around. We've never done this before. It can be a little weird. It can be a little intimidating, right? And if you don't even know it's intimidating until you're in the Capitol, going up and down office halls. I do it all the time. But you have to overcome that little burst of like, imposter syndrome, right? It's like, but the good news is that by the time you've done that a couple of times, it's like, oh yeah, get to where the staff in that office know you. Like that would be the point. Especially guys, I don't mean to fuss, but you guys are the executive leadership of the party. Like this is what we do, right? And if there's any one person that you should know the information that you would be your senator, right? Right? Your SD, your senator in your district should know your name, the party.
You guys are running it.
But yeah, I mean, it's part of the work. What you represent SD, what number is SDXX, and then okay. Well, yeah, coming off of it, we've got to make it known that they don't care. This is a libertarian hang up in my opinion. So we are the party principle and we think that's pretty cool. They don't care about other people. They care about us. So if among ourselves, we have to pay attention to our principles. We have to fight the good fight. We have to know why we do what we're doing, right? But if you're trying to convince a legislator to pay attention to you, it's going to take a few impressions, right? You might involve in kind of marketing shells, like 7 impressions, right? Before they even start to, before you become more than just like a irritating noise, right? So we have to show up. Nobody other than not showing up. Right? So enough of that. We are going to need, though, I guess there is a pretty good here that has to do with we have influence legislature with a new member. Carter, Darren, our volunteer coordinator, have a form up to give you an opportunity to enlist, to sign up to be paid. We're working on that now. The plan is as we're going in phase one, we gather the intel and figure out what they're trying to do. Phase two, we put together a system of notification so that we can put the word out to the parties, which hopefully includes all of us in this room, plus other people we know, plus rolling it out to the county, executive committee, the local members. We've got to make a noise, and hopefully it's the biggest noise that we can part of the community. So this is all working properly to get it behind the cylinders. We'll know what's going on in the legislature, the word will go out, and then all you have to do is send a scripted email or make a phone call with a few talking points that will have to listen for you, and get that information, get that information to depends on what's driving the bus. If it's a committee meeting, we'll send that out to the people who are on that committee, because we really need them to hear from us, and then we get later in session, and the session's before the vote, it'll be, they can be, everybody gets the word, but, let your rep know that it's a bad bill. We don't want to do that. Or a good one, and please get behind this, because we need you to do this. I usually deal my leads in front, guys, like, before we can ask other people to do this work, we need to be doing it so we can show them how it's done. So we can help coach them through that. First time, it's a little weird, a little awkward, a little intimidating. And that's about all I have for that. Legislative action is what it's about in the next 3 months. After that. So, questions? Anybody have any questions about that? So the 20th. No? Okay.
Real quick before we move to the next one of the things I failed to mention in my report, and Andrew, unless he did it while I was outside also, Jenny and Andrew and I spent a full day at the Bullock Museum here in Austin, late January, I think, right before the session started, or maybe after it had already started. It was put on by the Texan, who you might recall was one of the news outlets that was really interested in our legal victory. And they put on this event. It was a legislative kickoff. It was basically mostly Republican panels, and it was the legislators having an opportunity to speak to interested media personnel, and then those of us who were also about the bills that they were pushing. An opportunity for them to sort of showcase what they were up to. And what that did for me personally, I know Jenny and Andrew both got a lot out of it, but it put me in a position where, as we're all reading these bills, seeing who's responsible for them and actually putting a face to those names, whether they're your reps or senators or not, it makes a big difference, because now you know exactly who you're dealing with when you get to hear them in situations like that too. So I also encourage you all to attend anytime your legislators are out speaking in their communities or wherever, go see them. One of the panels related to immigration and border stuff was the only good one of the whole thing, and then partly because it was actually balanced, and there were representatives who actually live on the border, and were there and actually had data. It was the only panel, all of them actually presented data, and it was presented by the Democrats. And I took the opportunity when I was at the Capitol this last time to speak to that particular representative. And the very first thing when I introduced myself, the very first thing that his chief of staff says, "Oh, my boss," he's referring to his boss, that particular Democrat representative, "my boss is the most libertarian legislator in Texas." So anyway, I encourage you, building these relationships and going face to face with people matters. Sometimes it's appropriate for you to be there representing the party, and sometimes it's appropriate for you, more important and more impactful, I know Liz can speak to this, more impactful for you to be there as a constituent. It just depends on the situation, case by case basis, but please start doing it. It makes a huge difference. So thank you. I prefer that for us at this time. Mr. Walker?
Yes, I have a motion related to the closure of the assembly.
Okay.
So, unfortunately, this morning, there was an announcement about our removal of a member who then arrived later. And unfortunately, our bylaws are rather strict on both the fact of when somebody is removed and how that member is replaced, which is out of our hands. So what I wish to move is for the remainder of this meeting, Mr. Marino be given full speaking privileges until his district can rectify the situation.
I'll second that.
Okay. Yes, that was seconded. Let me repeat for everybody, since you didn't have the benefit of a microphone. Mr. Marino came in late. Our bylaws actually stipulate in that case on a second, what is second absence. We can't just, waive our bylaws for the day. So Mr. Wolfman has presented an option for us to allow Mr. Marino to represent his district. He's the only member of his district, even on this body. Allow him to represent as a speaker today with no voting privileges, and then he can, the district 20, is it 29? 29 can rectify the situation based on the rules that we provide for. That was seconded. Is there any objection to that? Awesome, thank you. Welcome, Mr.
Thank you.
All right, next is Bridget.
All right, good morning, everyone. I believe the secretary has some slides. Okay, cool. Making sure she got them in time. So I'm gonna run through this pretty quick. The full report is out on the SLEC board. So if you've read that, have any questions, feel free to ask when we get to the Q&A part. Okay. So basically, I'm just going to kind of sprint through all this, and if you have any questions, let me know. Short-term goals. I'm working with the IT staff to do a complete review of just some of the information that's out on the website, make sure it's good to go. We're also looking at our processes to make sure it stays up to date. We're working with political action for the call to action piece, specifically to support your work to use the information that Kevin Hell's gathering for us. Information is gold, and from there, it's what we do to act on it. If you haven't signed up already on our website, lptexas.org, there's a Get Involved drop down. If you click on that, volunteer for the legislative session is on there. Please go fill out that form. Please, I'm going to put this on that like 10 times right now, because those are the folks that are going to be getting all the notifications. Hey, you need to contact your rep right now because they're on this committee. It's really important stuff that the average voter is not going to track. So pretty please, if you haven't signed up there already, please go do that because that's going to help us be successful. The outreach program, we're working on getting it operational as well. Claire Underwood was here last night. I know a lot of you got to meet her. She is fantastic. She's hit the ground running. I can't talk highly of her. So those are kind of short-term goals, is to kind of support those three things. For long-term, there's a few new positions within the operations department that I would like to get filled. One of those is going to be an HR person. I think it's time that we really kind of start to polish our HR policies. And we actually may need some support from SLEC to do that. Luckily, since I do wear both hats, I can kind of help spearhead that as well. But I think that would be a very good position for us. Also, the CRM, I know Andrew talked on it. I've spent a lot of time working with folks on the national staff, our Region 7 rep, our Region 7 alternate. It's something we are actively pursuing to either find a solution with national or find our own solution without. But it's critical that as we move into next convention season, we have a functional CRM and can make changes to our own website, do fundraisers on our own website without having to beg, borrow, and plead national to get it done. So that's kind of the short and long-term goals. For what I've been doing, I've basically taken the org chart that Jesse had. We put it into a new program that can also act as a directory. We're kind of slowly filling out that capability, but that should be a good thing for us. And it is also free, which is, the perfect price. Job descriptions, I've knocked out 8 job descriptions. The ops department is 100%. I'm about to start transitioning to help other directors on request request to have job descriptions as well, so that we can get all staff on current job descriptions. City CRM, I already talked about that a little bit. This is one of our goals. My office report breaks it down a little bit more, but there's capabilities that we use through national, and then they had staffing changes, and we no longer have that capability. National's aware of it. We're trying to work with them, but it is just a hard thing right now for us to fundraise effectively. It is putting a strain on Jenny and her ability to fundraise. So that's why we are actively looking at how we can fix the situation. Signing and sourcing items, most of that's for outreach. We are going to do some name tags for the officers when they go to speak and stuff like that. The IT section, we're working on like process checklists, so just kind of polish what's already there. Our IT professionals are awesome. Kyle Russell's one out. I've heard Cole's around somewhere as well. They are fantastic. I'm not an IT person by trade, so they kind of have to dumb it down when they're talking to me, but they are fantastic and on it. So we're working some processes just to kind of polish there. But that's pretty much it for the IT section. For outreach, this is a new program for us. We're kind of paving the way to see what we can do. I know that the original funding proposal, we included Independent National Convention as one of the things. The more research we did on it, the less of a good fit it looked like, not because of ideology or anything like that, just return on investment. They are a newer startup convention. They're guessing that they're going to have somewhere between 1,000 and 5,000 people attend it. If they could guarantee the 5,000, that would probably be a better return on investment. But there was too many unknowns to risk the $3,000, so we are stepping away from that. So that's that. We're also looking to leverage L2, and this didn't make the report, but I'll kind of talk to it real quick. We're also looking to leverage L2 to do direct mailers to people who have recently moved to Texas, who were registered libertarians in their previous state. So stuff like that is promising. We're going to do small batches just to kind of test it out, see what the return on investment is. Working with Cole, we've got a way to like track QR code scans and stuff like that, so we can actually get good data if we do a small trial. So that's something we're looking at in outreach as well. So thanks to Amanda Gibbs on that, and of course Claire. For the volunteer section, Darren just got up and running, so we're going to sign some new processes for our website funnels. Basically, anytime someone goes and signs up in a certain category, we'll get a notification. We're basically just going to work some onboarding stuff for those. He's also been in contact with all the folks who have signed up to volunteer for the legislative session, and basically, he's going to be a huge help when it comes to keeping the information that Kevin has discovered out to the world. So I'm really excited to see how it plays out as well. So I know I kind of sprinted through all that. So that's really all I've got. Is there any questions? Yes, sir.
So you talked about, talked to the report, I believe, about job descriptions, like that, and also hiring new people. When we worked on just somewhat hiring and that sort of thing, there was discussion about what kind of position is it? Is it a contract position? Is it a regular employee position? And I got this great letter coming out of my chin from my brain, so forgive my lack of memory on all that, but how are we handling those kind of hires? What are the costs? If we're hiring them as regular hired staff, or we, are taking into consideration the budget of paying, the required things and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so when I'm talking about staff right now, I'm mostly talking about volunteer staff positions. The majority of the positions on our org are volunteer staff positions right now. Yeah, thank you very much for this. You don't get paid enough. Right now, most of the contract positions, whether it be commission-based or whatever, are handled by the chair and our executive director who draft those contracts and stuff. Now, as we grow, which is kind of the plan, right? We all want to grow and get bigger, and we want to be able to afford more paid staff and stuff. I think that's why it's going to be critical to get someone onboarded that has good HR experience, so that we're making sure we're dotting all the i's, crossing all the t's when we are doing contract positions. And even contract positions will only take us so far. You know, some that we may actually need paid staff.
Here's my concern. In my research of this, there's potential, if we say this person's gonna be a contract employee, if we have a job description for a particular task, that implies that they are a regular employee, not a contract employee. And I just want to make sure we were addressing that in that process. Can you assure me that we are doing it that way?
Yes, we are. Mr. Emily and I have already covered that. If we did already have a job description for that volunteer role previously, which we did, and I know that we adapted some of those to, to bring that to speed now. For example, in Mr. Emily's situation, that is not a job description that we actually publicize, and his responsibilities are based on what's in his contract, not at all in the job description. Thank you, that's a good point. And we are also, just for the record, not quite big enough yet for having multiple contract employees to be a real problem. If we were bigger, then we might have some more pushback from the government about hiring not having real employees. For now, one or two commission-based, one regular contractor and one or two commission-based is not problematic. So thank you for watching out for that and continue to do so, please.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
So regarding outreach, I apologize about some things that we put up before that slide focus. I don't know that I understand the focus.
Okay, so basically, as a state party, we recruit new members in a bunch of various ways, right? People hear about us on the news or see us doing whatever we're doing in our counties. But we don't have like a targeted recruitment program where we're out in the community necessarily recruiting and like attending events that are being put on by other people. Right now, I'm not aware of us trying to contact folks that we think are libertarian leaning or anything like that. So outreach is really just that. It's to try to reach out and recruit new folks, get them excited about the party. Because we've never had this program before. It's a new program. There's a lot of various ways that we can do that. We are planning on getting this stuff up and going so we can move the various events around the state. But we're also looking at other options like leveraging it to do targeted recruitment.
So the reason, so part of the reason I'm asking that is because of, and I think I've said something on the point, that the best, most informed people that I've come across in my time with the party have been the ones that have been at these functions, city council meetings, county commissioners, the government. That can somehow be incorporated. Maybe something as simple as, here's the card not necessarily for you, but for the party in regards to outreach.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that way, I assume that when we're doing that kind of stuff, that's kind of the focus, we're going to have to sit down and have a elevated pitch, but maybe someone that pick up that slide, hey, I just like this guy at the country.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think all ideas like that are awesome. And matter of fact, if you don't mind, shoot me a message on that. But because this program's new, if you have a good idea, be the good idea fairy and sprinkle it. Because we're going to try stuff, and some stuff probably won't be successful. Some stuff may be wildly successful. And I'm okay with experimenting where it makes sense. So if you have a good idea, please let us know. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Not really a question, I just provide some. You made an appeal to the body to fill out the registration form, as well as I will speak to myself first, and Andrew and I talked about this. I don't fill out the form because I already did all of these things, so we unnecessary to fill out the form. But what I hear you say is that even in culture, that we otherwise, you may benefit from this on that form, because you send them a list, where they can get to the rest of
Right. Yeah, what it is. Yeah, so. I'm going to be there, that's so quick. So this is the key thing. Kevin and his team are knocking it out of the park right now. We need to take that data and take action on it. And literally, the best way to do that is find what city district, what house district you're in, and you let me know something's going to be. I actually have 3 people there. I'm burning up the phones, calling those 3 people saying, hey, I need to contact you right now. This could actually make a difference. Because a lot of times, the folks at the Capitol aren't really getting a lot of information or feedback from constituents.
While we as a party are not doing it, they have given you a pass. Okay. So I intend to use it. I intend to vote. And we will letter it in the try to figure out more about it. But figure out what's going on there. Or even phone app, for us to figure it out. I do intend to be there.
And I believe you have to probably have a discount code as well. So if anyone's interested, let me know. It's a little pricey to that's why I'll look for that.
Communication is next. Okay, all right, you have a motion for a 2-minute break.
Yes.
Any objection to 15 minutes? All right, be back in at 10:30.
what I plan on doing the next 30 days, 90 days, stretch and so forth like that. Some of this stuff is actually technically already done, completed at this week. The trifold redesign that we're kind of tackling is mostly done. We have a couple small edits that one of my graphics guys from taking care of, Christian. He's somebody we onboarded and whatnot over the past quarter. He's been really awesome. The rest of the team has also been very awesome. We've kind of filled out the department a little bit more. Let's see here. Agility training, some of our PR stuff there. I did get training on that last week personally, so I feel like I'm definitely an expert, 110%. And we're going to be using that a lot more going forward. And I do have some interesting statistics down further that I'd like to showcase some of that, especially showing from what I talked about previously last meeting. If you notice on there as well, one thing I talked about last meeting with Reddit, I am looking for a content producer there. It's not very fun to manage, in my opinion, me personally, but I am looking out for it. However, I am also trying to create a little more of a social media strategy there as well. Remember, Bear County, right? Bear County was so nice to give me a copy of their social media strategy last time. I've edited and so forth for our purposes for state, and of course, drop some credit in there to Jake, et cetera, for editing that file and shit. So I do plan on adding to that some more specifics. There's a lot of stuff in there about general strategy and a lot of stuff around Facebook in particular, but it is missing a lot about Twitter. It is missing a lot from Reddit, and since we are using all these platforms, I want to try to get a little more in there, and as well encourage everybody else to utilize all these platforms as much as possible as well. Now, as part of that social media strategy, you'll see right there the 90-day stuff. Boilerplate and bulk templated posts. This is something we don't really have a lot of coming out of our LP Texas accounts. We do have quite a bit of content coming out, but some boilerplate things that can hopefully lighten the load, that we can schedule out 90 days in advance, stuff that we can, or even all year, basically, is kind of a real big goal there. One of the other things that I'm really looking forward to is hopefully getting a skate party video, as well as encouraging one of Amanda's ideas, which is the preamble video. A bunch of different members reading off the preamble. Now, the skate party video, I think, will be really great. It will be good ways like advertising for the skate party, right? Much like we have the same advertisements for candidates, etc. Right? Like Joe or whatever from national. Now, getting down a little bit further, let's start with Twitter. Can you scroll down to the Twitter section for me, please? Last time I didn't have a lot of good statistics. I had a little bit for Twitter, but we have 20 more statistics. Sorry about that. I've got a pop filter on this thing. There is some issues with the dates that I have personally. That's my own OCD. You'll notice up the top for each section, I've got a date for it. The light blue is the comparison. The dark blue is basically from the last report. It is not from the last SLEC meeting. Basically because whenever I drew those reports, they came out on, as you can see here, November 1st, right? SLEC was on, I think it was the 19th. So there's a huge gap in data missing there for me personally. But that matters to you guys, I'm not really sure. But so going forward, instead of today, how you'll see some of these are comparing to a 90-day period after that, or before that, excuse me. I plan on basically reporting and comparing previous reports going forward. So last one, like for Twitter, was pulled on February 18th. I plan on showing everything from February 18th until the next report is generated. So that way there's no gaps, we can get clear, precise data. Now, as you can see here, Twitter's doing great. We are going up in numbers. I wish it was more, I'm sure we all do. There are some interesting things here that I would like to point out that I think would be great to improve. One of the things that we got from our Hootsuite management platform for social media is this inbound messages to sentiment. We can see how majority of our inbound messages are either positive or neutral. That's great. Love to see the green grow even further and that red really kind of come down. Negative responses isn't exactly what we're aiming for, right? Now, I did
Also wanted to break down some further analytics here. I wanted to show our top tweets for impressions, how those lead to engagements, how those lead to